We are live. We are live with the second session. Like I've said, we have briefly, shared about the next speaker, Oluwatoyin Ogunkomi, is someone I respect so much. She's a family psychologist, and this is one of the women that I admire so greatly, right? Admiring her family, admiring her personal life, admiring her depth of knowledge. So if you're here and you have teenagers, listening to Oluwatoyin will be one of the best bits of the things you'll get today. You have young children. She's going to be talking to us on um, discipline, discipline and behavioral management. So all of us that get confused about what discipline effects of discipline is, what it is that is required of us on in discipline, all the confusion that we have been having about discipline, Oluwatoyin is that voice you need to listen today. Like we need to share it with everyone around us. She has big grown children, and she's awesome. Like she's great at what she does, and it is my pleasure to have her in this platform. It is my honor to host her in this platform, and I would love you to also invite everyone in your circle. Let them be part of this conversation, and let them come and learn from her wealth of knowledge. So without wasting time, okay, I think she's here already. Oh my God, 5 minutes before time. Okay, without wasting time, we'll be bringing our speakers already. Ladies and gentlemen, make welcome Oluwatoyin Ogunkomi. Wow, she's here before all of us. Can you imagine?
I just said I
Hello,
should
ma.
log
Can
on
you
and
hear
stay in the
me?
background. I can hear you so well. Can you hear me? Okay. Can you hear
Can you
me?
hear me?
Yes, I can. I can hear
Yes,
you.
I can. I can. We started talking
Okay.
about you in and reading your profile in earlier before now, and it's so good to have you here.
Okay.
I think the network booted her out. It's
I'm
so
still
good
here.
to
I'm
have
still
you,
here.
ma.
It's nice to be here too.
Okay,
Thank
okay,
you so,
great.
so much. Thank you so, so much. Thank you for inviting me to come and speak with your
Okay, you can take up the
community.
stage. The session is here.
Okay then.
And then in your course of conversation, we would want to know more about you. Thank you and
Okay.
welcome to this platform.
Okay, then. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Vivian. Thank you so much for having me to come and speak with your community of parents. This is the Proactive Parenthood Conference 2024, and I'm here to talk about another interesting topic. I'll be talking about the effects or the impact of discipline and behavioral management in parenting using Nigerian as a case study. So if you're here and you are a Nigerian, go to the comment section, type 1. If you are not from Nigeria and you're also here, go to the comment section and type 2. So I'll be talking about the effects of discipline and behavioral management in parenting, although I'll be talking a little bit about the Nigerian context. So if you can hear me, if you can see me, please go to the comment section. Let me know that you can hear me and you can see me before I continue. So part of the things I do, I work with parents, I work with adolescents, I work as a family psychologist in a mental health facility where we work with adolescents, we work with parents, we work with anyone that's battling with one form of mental health disorder, or anyone battling with substance use disorder. But today I'll be talking about discipline. And I'll be talking about discipline in line with what I've seen as a parent, what I've seen as a psychologist, what I've seen working with parents for the past 7 years. I have three awesome children, two adults, young adults, and one teenager. And when it comes to discipline, discipline is one topic that a lot of parents are actually battling with, because discipline is that topic. Discipline is like the heart of parenting. after you loving your child unconditionally, you being able to discipline, to teach your child properly is very, very important. Now, I'll be talking about the impact of discipline in parenting, and I'll be looking at the Nigerian context. One of the things we need to know in Nigeria is that our culture, societal expectation, and traditional values play a whole significant role in shaping how we discipline our children, or it takes a whole, plays a whole role in how we perceive or we practice discipline in Nigeria. Now, one of the things we need to understand is that when it comes to discipline, part of the ways we discipline or we try to correct our children in the Nigerian context have a huge and a long-term effect on them. Now, for you to raise your children effectively, you need to equip yourself with certain skills, with certain resources. And one of these skills you need to equip yourself with is behavioral management and knowing how to use discipline as a tool in parenting. So effective discipline and management, they're like the basis for raising well-adjusted, responsible, and confident children. And when we apply this with love, consistency, and fairness, we would not just correct our children's behavior, but we'll also build their character, will promote emotional and social development, and will also prepare these children for life. Now, coming to the African setting, how do we discipline our children? I'm going to look at three ways we use, three factors that influence the way we discipline our children in the African setting. Number one, looking at the cultural context and traditional values. In many Nigerian households, discipline is rooted in traditional values. Is rooted in terms of respecting older ones, being obedient, adhering to cultural norms, and which are very good things. However, most parents use strict methods to enforce these values. And when we talk about strict methods, so like corporal punishment, where we hear the word spare the rod and spoil the child, we use methods like verbal reprimand, physical punishment, and public shaming. And these methods of correcting are actually have long-term negative effects. In the short term, they might work, but in the long term, they have adverse effects on these children. And like I said, I'll be talking from the point of view as a psychologist. I'll be talking from the point of view as a parent. I'll also be talking from the fact that I work with parents and adolescents. And coming in as a psychologist, I've seen the long-term effects of parents who publicly shame, parents who use verbal and physical punishment in correcting their children. Recently, I had a case where, I saw a child that was cutting, right? Self-harm. And when asked, why did you self-harm? And the story went on and on, how the parents used to be very strict, how the parents used to be very, very harsh, how the child couldn't define himself herself. So as parents, these effects, these things we do that we call we call discipline, they're actually punishment, and they have long-term effects on our children. Now, looking at the social side, or the societal expectations, there are times when the way we discipline or the way we want to correct our children is influenced by the expectations of people, where we feel that, people are looking at you, parents are being pressured to be strict with their children so that they will not be judged as spoiling or being too lenient. This too also has a negative effect on the child. And also past experiences. So you see some parents saying, oh, I want to discipline my children the way my parents disciplined me, or after all, we didn't die. Most parents that were disciplined using corporal punishment, using this negative method, actually have a lot of mental health issues. So I see patients in the mental health facility battling with one form of depression or anxiety. And by the time I go, by the time I do the initial assessment, I do history taking, I just realized that some of these baggages were from when they were young. So as parents, it's important that we educate ourselves. It's important that we know, we have a proper understanding of what discipline is. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is not shaming. Discipline is not you being aggressive to your children. Discipline simply refers to you teaching, guiding, correcting your child. And the goal of discipline is to help your child to develop self control, is to help your child understand the difference between right and wrong. The goal of discipline is to make your child become responsible, well balanced individuals. So, how do we discipline, or what is really discipline? I would like to go back and talk about like the etymology of discipline, that is the history. So when we talk about discipline, discipline is derived from a Latin word that means to teach, to instruct, to provide knowledge. And like I said earlier, that we've switched the meaning or the word discipline, and we've turned it to punishment. And when we look at the meaning of the word punishment, punishment simply means to pay for doing something wrong. Punishment simply means when somebody has committed a crime, he or she is sentenced to serve some time. And even with that, it has actually been found that when people are sentenced to serve time, they come out of the society, they come out of the prison, they come into the society, and is also start do they act they do more crimes, and they are being sent back to prison. And this is one of the reasons why they changed the name from prison to correctional facility. So punishment is about controlling the child rather than teaching the child. Punishment is a short-term solution. However, when it comes to discipline, discipline is to teach. Discipline is to teach your child with love. Discipline is to equip your children with skills, with resources to make the right decision. Discipline, and for your discipline to be effective, right, you need to have planned it. I posted something yesterday on my LinkedIn page, right? I posted that discipline is not an emergency. Discipline is not something you just think of and you start doing. No, that's more of like punishment or correcting. But discipline is something that you plan. You need to have a discipline plan. Discipline, for discipline to be effective, it has to be consistent. It has to be fair. You have to be fair. You have to be firm. You have to be kind. You Discipline needs to be teaching a skill, not punishing. So for parents who are here, I need you to understand that discipline is different from punishment. Now, when we talk about discipline, there are so many ways, so many things we can look at discipline when it comes to, correcting our children. Discipline is not it does not demand instant and blind obedience, no. But discipline is to teach your child to think through their actions and the consequences of their action. Discipline is not demanding blind obedience. No, go and do it now because I said so. No, that's not discipline. Discipline is to teach your child to think through the action, think and think about the consequences of the action before taking the action. That's what discipline is about. And as parents, we need to know that there are different ways, there are different methods, different things we can use to teach our children, to guide our children, to let them know the acceptable behavior. There are different ways and different methods of doing this. And as parents, please, it's very important that we don't let anyone pressure you into hitting your child, or no, don't let anyone pressure you into being verbally aggressive towards your child. No. And I also said something that when your child does something in public, Is that the time to start discipline? No. And one of the things I tell parents are you ought to have taught your child the right things to do from home. So when they're out, they already know what is expected of them. When it comes to discipline, it's to teach your child to be responsible. Discipline is to teach your child about being self-disciplined. Discipline is to teach your child about problem solving and cooperation. Discipline teaches self-respect and respect for others. And when it comes to discipline, it builds trust and strengthens the relationship between you and your child. More, but when we talk about punishment does the opposite of all this. Punishment does not, when we punish our children, we're not, there's no respect in it. We're not teaching them responsibility. We're not teaching them how to solve the problem. We're not, it doesn't build trust between us and our children. So discipline is to teach. Teach your children how to manage their emotion. Teach your children how to handle stress in a healthy way. Discipline teaches your children not to be impulsive. Discipline teaches your children how to respect and to respect other people and respect other people's opinion. It's about setting boundaries, right? So discipline has a whole lot to do about teaching. And that's why I say discipline is like the crux of parenting. If you're a parent here and you don't know anything about discipline, please, you need to be here. You need to invite your fellow parents to come and listen, because discipline is like the crux of parenting. Is like the bedrock of parenting. If you are not equipped to teach your child the right things to do, you end up always wanting to punish, to shame, or to make the child pay for something he or she has not been taught. And that's why we say discipline simply means to teach. So what are the different methods of discipline? There are different disciplinary measure. We have positive discipline. So many, there's different. Some people use positive discipline. Some people use discipline. Sorry. Some people use positive discipline. Some people use some solution focused discipline. Some people use, that's different method parents actually use in equipping their children to become better. But the one I always love talking about is positive discipline, because positive discipline is a way of teaching your child and guiding your child by letting them know the behavior that is expected, and you being firm yet kind, you being consistent, and you being intentional when teaching them these things. So do we have any question there? Do you have any question? Any question? Do you want me to go on? So one of the things I tell parents is that anytime your child misbehave, it's a feedback that either a lesson was not taught or the lesson was not learnt, or it's a feedback that the child needs help. The child needs help. No, so there was a time I was teaching I was having a conversation with my daughter, right? And I realized that whenever I give instructions, she would have forgotten the instruction. So I now decided to do something. I write out the instructions on a piece of paper and I'll give to her, and she carries out all the instructions, like that. So as parents, discipline is it should be solution oriented. Your disciplinary measure should be solution oriented. It should not be to punish, but to create a solution for your child. Like I said, hitting, if you have a child that is always hitting his sibling, or you have a child that is always verbally abusive to his siblings, that means there is something lacking there. That means the child does not have either emotional control or emotional management. So when it comes to our children, when it comes to us teaching them, there are certain things we have to teach them that will also help them in becoming better individuals in the society. So when it comes to discipline, there's a strategy. There's always a strategy when it comes to discipline. And one of the things I tell parents is that the first thing when it comes to creating your discipline plan is that you need to understand the child you're raising. A lot of parents don't really understand who they're raising. Your child might be a strong-willed child. Your child might be a phlegmatic, a child. You need to know the personality of your child. So from in my home, I have three different children. I call them three different names, and each one of them have different personalities. Each one of them had different. So for me to, so in the home we have the same rules, but in carrying out the rules, we carry the rules out based on the personality of each child. So there's one that is very, very playful. She's a sanguine, that's my daughter. She's a sanguine. She gets into a place, she makes friends with everybody. There's a way how we teach her skills. Then there's another one that is choleric, just wants things to be done in a certain way. And there's another one that, so you need to understand your child. So when it comes to discipline, the first step starts with you understanding who your child is. Who is this child I'm raising? Who is this child I'm raising? Understand your child and understand the behavior, how your child responds to either love, respond to correction. You need to understand your child before you can create a discipline plan. Then the next step is, what discipline tools do you want to use? Like I said, there's verbal correction, there's emotional coaching, there's boundary based teaching, whereby you teach your child what is expected of him or her. You teach your child limits and consequences to their action. There's also behavior modification, where you use reward and consequences. Then you can also use teachable moments to teach your children to. So like I said, discipline is teaching. Discipline is, so what are you teaching your child? What do you want to use? What do you want to teach your child? You need to have a plan on what I'm teaching. Now, not just having a plan, when they do otherwise. So you've taught the child, your child has internalized the teaching. What next? What next do you do? If the child does not do the right thing, then you need to have a plan for consequences. Very important. Then another tool when it comes to discipline is storytelling. So it's not all the time that you use consequences. You've done XYZ, this is your consequence. There are times that you use storytelling. Then when I was growing up, do you know what happened? Tell them stories about yourself. These are ways you can enforce the right behavior in your children. Teachable moment is maybe something that's happened and you use that time to teach the child a particular skill or ability. So for example, maybe you're watching TV and you see a particular behavior that is unacceptable, or a behavior that is not acceptable in your family. That is a time you can use that as a teachable moment to teach the child about that behavior. Now, there are barriers to discipline. As parents, there are lots of barriers. There are barriers to discipline. One of the barriers to discipline for parents is when you do not have the necessary skills or knowledge on how to discipline or how to instill the right behavior in your children. And that's why I applaud Madam Vivian for this conference, because it's at conferences like this, at forums like this, that parents tend to learn more. There are times when we tell parents come and pay for sessions, pay for trainings, and we're like, oh, I cannot afford it. But it's at events like this, going for trainings, going for coaching, that you learn all the necessary things you need to know about raising your children effectively. So the first barrier to effective discipline is lack of knowledge and skills. The parent is not equipped to do the right thing when it comes to discipline. Another barrier to effective discipline is when parents do not have the right resources. Maybe people, you don't have time, you don't have the right resources to do it. Then when you're not able to manage your emotion as a parent, you lack emotional intelligence, your child has done something wrong, instead of you to take your time to teach the child what the right thing to do, you just flare up, you start shouting, start getting upset. That is a barrier to effective discipline. Then also, when you do not have structure in the home, one of the things you need to know about discipline is that discipline teaches structure. It helps you to, set boundaries, allow your children to know what is expected of them. So if you do not have structure in your home, there's no way you'll be able to effectively create a discipline plan in the home. And it's very important as parents that we have what we have structures in the home. And like I said when I started, I said the goal of discipline is to teach responsibility. The goal of discipline is to promote self-discipline, is to instill the right value, and to build skills. So if you do not have a structure to teach these things in the home, there's no way your discipline will be effective as a parent. Discipline, very, very important. If you're not equipped with the right knowledge and skill, there's no way your discipline will be effective. If you lack the resources, if you lack the structure in the home, there's no way your discipline will be effective. If you're not able to manage your own emotion, I know that's why we say in parenting that everything you're doing, everything you want to teach your child, you have to be able to model these things. If you don't have the capacity to model, if you don't have it in you, you can't give it out. Like they say, what you don't have, you don't have. So if you don't have it, you don't have it. So imagine I have a cup here now. I don't have a cup here now. So imagine this is a cup. And imagine this is a cup, it's my phone. And this cup is empty. And I say, okay, I want to give you water. Of course, I can't give you anything because there's nothing in the cup. So as parents, it's important that we ourselves, we model discipline, we model these skills before we can say we want to teach our children this skill. It's important that we, you know, like discipline has to do with you, the parent, first before the child. For you to teach your child anything, for you to teach your child anything, for you to say you are equipping your children with skills, you need to have equipped yourself with these skills first. Very important. Discipline starts with you, mommy. Discipline starts with you, daddy. You are the first role model in the child's life. So for you to equip your child with anything, you need to have equipped yourself with these skills. Do you have any question before I continue? Any question? I can't see any question here. I can't see any question here. Okay. So discipline is not just about discipline has nothing to do with punishment. Discipline has nothing to do with discipline is to teach. The goal of discipline is to teach. I want to equip my children with the right skills. I want them to know what is important. That is what discipline is about. And as parents, please, like I said, you need to equip yourself with these right skills for you to equip your children with the right skills. So I've spoken about what discipline is. I've spoken about the context in which Nigerian discipline their children. I said we use our traditional disciplinary measure of being aggressive, being harsh with our children, and the effect of this Nigerian method of discipline. The effect involves mental health issues, harsh or excessive discipline, as in when you use physical punishment, can lead to fear, it can lead to anxiety, it can lead to a strained relationship between the parents and the child, and also has a long-term psychological issues. When I started, I said that I've seen patients in my counseling room whereby you ask, they are coming in for either depression or low self-esteem issue, and you ask them, you go, do history taking, just realize that while growing up, their parents were very, very aggressive towards them. And children who are subjected to harsh punishment or physical punishment, they develop a negative view of authority figure, and might want to struggle when they grow older. They struggle with social interaction. They're not, they either have borderline personality whereby they feel very low about themselves, and quite a lot of things happen. So parents, it's very important that we understand that discipline is not punishment. Discipline is you guiding your child with love. Discipline is you teaching your child the right things to do, equipping them with skills, equipping them with, with resources, providing them with solution, teaching them how to solve problems. That's what discipline is all about. Seek is to seek solution, is to equip them with skills, emotional skills, equip them with boundaries, help them to know the right things to do, because those are the right things to do. Now, as parents, like I said, you have to know how to manage your emotion when it comes to you teaching your children. So do not for parents who are not emotionally intelligent, or parents who do not know how to manage their anger, it might be difficult for you to create a discipline plan for your children. To be difficult for you to create a discipline plan for your children. And like I said, discipline is the bedrock of parenting. Discipline is the bedrock of parenting. It's the long term impact of discipline in the life of your children. It helps you. It raises children who are disciplined. It raises children who are self who are self-driven. It raises children who knows the right thing to do at the right time. But when you don't equip your children with these skills, by the time they leave home angry, they leave home disappointed, they leave home not wanting to have relationship with you. I say I work in a mental health facility, and I've seen children who say they don't want to have anything to do with their parents because of the way their parents instill discipline in them. Discipline has a whole lot to do with raising well balanced children. So, if you want to raise your children into well balanced adults, please use the right disciplinary measures in equipping them with skills and resources. Like I said, discipline has nothing to do with punishment. Discipline has nothing to do with hitting or being verbally abusive. Discipline is to teach self control. Discipline is to promote responsibility. Discipline involves you establishing boundaries and expectations for your children. Create a structured environment where your child knows what is expected of them. This helps them to feel secured and helps them to understand societal norms. But if you don't teach your children what is expected of them, and they do what is wrong, and the next thing is to hit them, you're being very wicked and you're being very, very harsh. Discipline encourages positive behavior. It reinforces good behavior. When a child has done something right and you reinforce that thing with either a reward, that is discipline. That's one aspect of discipline. And also, it also helps with emotional and social development. It fosters emotional regulation. But like I said, before you can instill this emotional regulation in your child, you yourself as a parent, you ought to have equipped yourself with that emotional capacity and emotional intelligence. So for you to raise children who are emotionally stable, you the parent also need to have emotional intelligence. So through discipline, your children will learn how to manage their own emotion. Through discipline, your children will understand the impact of their behavior on other people. Discipline will prepare your children for the world. One of my books, Preparing Your Children for Independent Living. I have one book here, Preparing Your Children for Independent Living. In this book, I've written different aspects of how we can equip our children for independence really for the real world. And discipline helps your children to understand that their actions have consequences. So let me give, so there are so many examples I can give. So one of the example I'll give is, so there was a time that, when children do things that are not right, and they don't, you don't allow them to go through the either natural consequences or logical consequences of their action, they will not learn, because they would feel that, oh, mommy is there to protect me, daddy is there to, But if as a parent you allow your children to go through the logical consequences or natural consequences of their action, it teaches them and prepares them for life. So let me give you an example. So you have a child that is always forgetting to put his either cutlery in his school bag, or always forgetting to take his lunch bag to school. And every time you have to go all the way to school to go and give him his lunch, you're not teaching the child the right thing. But discipline is allowing the child to face the natural or logical consequences of his action. And this will teach the child next time that, oh, next time I go to school, I have to ensure that I have all my things ready with me, so that I would not go either hungry, or my teacher will not have to, I will not have to serve punishment, or with my teacher. So discipline teaches your children to understand that their actions have consequences. And when they go into the larger society, they would know that mommy and daddy will not be there with me all the time, and I will have to face these consequences by myself. Now, another good thing about positive discipline is that it also adapts, it teaches resilience. When your children learn how to navigate rules and boundaries from home, it prepares them for the rules and regulations in the larger society. I remember I was having a session with some young adults, and they were asking questions as in, why do we have to do this exercise? And I explained to them that, see, in life, everywhere you go to, there will be rules, and there will be rules and there will be regulations anywhere you find yourself. So it's better to start learning from home how to navigate rules and boundaries. So by the time you go out into the larger society, you're already prepared. You already know that I want to drive on the road. I stay on the is it right hand side? We drive in Nigeria. I stay on the right hand. You use the left hand side. We drive on. When you go to another climb, you learn all these things. But for parents who have not taken the time to train up their child, you've not taken the time to instill the right discipline. When your children leave home, they are going to face the larger society, and they are going to face consequences for their actions. So as parents, please, effective discipline, effective behavioral management is important if you want to raise well-adjusted, responsible, and confident children. And like I said, when you're instilling your discipline, when you're teaching, please apply love, apply fairness, be consistent in your method. Don't be one, today this is what we do, tomorrow that is what we do. That can be confusing for children. That can be confusing for children. And discipline is not just about correcting behavior. Discipline is about building character that will promote social and emotional development. Discipline will prepare your children for life. So, Vivian, are you still here? I guess I'll be stopping here for now. Vivian, do we have questions?
Please drop your questions in the comments.
Do you have
I'll be putting
questions?
them up. Drop your questions
Okay.
in the comments. We'll be putting them up so that she will do justice to them before she leaves. Okay, this is not a question. Discipline is about correct. Okay, that's not a question. Okay, I'm just putting up the things I'm saying here.
Okay.
However, we need you to drop your questions before she leaves the stream so she can. Wow, everybody is raving you in the comments. Everybody is raving you. Amazing session. My eyes have opened with your session on discipline. Wow. Everyone is raving you in the comments. I'm not seeing any question yet. They are all is about building character. Okay. Okay. People are repeating the things you said in the comments. I don't know if you can see the comments.
No, I can't see the comments.
Okay, okay, that's fine. Thank you so much, Ma, for this amazing session. If there's anything any parent struggle with is actually discipline. And because I also
Okay.
specifically work with parents of young children, I know that one of our greatest challenges is discipline because the children are young and we're not able to find our feet ourselves when it comes to discipline. So we don't even understand the difference between punishment, discipline, and the connection between the both, right? The positive discipline you talked about today and how to instill it is a big challenge for many parents, especially when the children are young, like our children. So I know
So
that this session has been. Can you hear me?
yes, I was about saying something. I said that discipline is actually
Okay.
the crux of parenting. Without discipline,
Exactly.
I don't know what we're doing in parenting. So apart from loving our children unconditionally, the next crux of parenting is discipline because it's like the baseline of parenting. If you're not teaching, if you're not instilling the right values, instilling the right skills and and knowledge in your child, then I don't know what parenting is about without that.
Exactly, yes. And that's our struggle. That's one of our struggle. Thank you so very much for honoring this invitation. People are still raving you and clapping their hands. I've not seen any question yet. Everybody that has been joining this stream in the past 5 days, know that after this streaming comes the work itself. Listening to you is such a pleasure and such an honor. Thank you for honoring this invitation. We are so grateful.
Thank you.
And again, because I specifically work with parents of young children, we will have you again and again. And I hope you answer us as many times as possible so that you can also help in nurturing parents that are on the journey where you have passed. You are one of those people that I admire so greatly, so much. I totally look up to you, because I see the work you have also done with your grown children, and I know
Thank
that
you
at
so
the phase
much.
where we are, you must have done a lot of work to have this young, amazing, disciplined, put together kind of children. I admire you and I love you. Thank you so
Thank
very
you so,
much for
thank you
honoring
so
this
much.
invitation. Okay, so we'll leave you to run since we are not having any question in the comments. Everybody is raving you, so we can get to the last session. Thank you so much, Ma.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. Thank you, everybody who have been part of this session. Again, we are grateful to you. And we want to tell you to sit back again for the next session that will start. That's the last for the day. Amazing session again that we're going to be having. Kojola. Kojola Grace is another powerful woman that I admire. And she works with people who have been traumatized in different ways. Marriage, and generally relationship with trauma. So you would want to be part of that conversation and that session. She's going to be also dealing with how to break out of negative patterns. And many of us are struggling without even knowing what the problem is. It is actually the negative patterns that we were raised with You have heard some things over and again all your life. You're 30 something, you are 40. Many of those things you heard 40 years ago, 50, 30 years ago, 25 years ago are the things getting you stuck today, but you don't even know. You are just, you have nothing to even think that those things that you're struggling with now are the things that have been caused by the things that you heard in the past that have given you, struggling with low self-esteem, struggling with self-confidence, struggling with, financial adversities and everything. It centers around some negative patterns that raised us, that was imbibed in our upbringing. So be here at 6 when the next session starts, right? Um, we'll be back again at 6. Coach Oluwatoyin was supposed to finish her session at 5:30, but she has another session, right? So we are grateful to everyone who has been here. See you again at 6 p.m. Do not forget to book your slots in the Tribe 2025. See you in the next 1 hour. Bye, everyone.